Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our event. We are now starting, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to you all for being here today. I am Hana Nozawa, one of the participants of this Bangladesh-Japan exchange project and student leader of the host organization AAEE. We would like to express our deepest gratitude to you all for being here today. I am Hana Nozawa, one of the participants of this Bangladesh-Japan exchange project. So I will be the host today, and we're now starting off the Bangladesh-Japan exchange project final event. The theme for today is poverty and education. We hope to show you the result of our team's hard work before and throughout the project, building partnerships and tackling these important issues. We wish this event can bring about some changes in people's heart or the society. Firstly, we are going to kickstart this event with the epilogue part. Even though it is the epilogue, this is one of the most important part of today. So please join us, stay with us, and let's think about the significance of poverty and education together. We will now stream the video clip for you to take a glance at our program. Thank you, Momoka, for the video. Next up, we are going to share the video of our joint statement to set the outline and objectives of this project and event.
Joint Statement, Bangladesh-Japan Exchange Project 2020. One, we, the participants of this project, gathered and discussed poverty and education from August 30th to September 6th. Host organizations, Asia Association of Education and Exchange from Japan, and Switch, a youth platform for social development from Bangladesh. Two, we believe that it had a significant meaning to hold this youth project to build a bright and sustainable future, even under the current situation about COVID-19. Three, we discussed poverty and education in both countries and recognized that each country has its own challenges. We also confirmed the status of achievement in Sustainable Development Goal 1 for no poverty and 4 for quality education. Based on the discussions, we considered what we can do for Sustainable Development Goal 1 and 4 as the youth in 2020 and promised to work together to contribute their attainment. Five, at this time, it was proved that a possibility of being able to have international cooperation and effective cultural exchange, even online. Six, we, as representatives of Bangladesh and Japan, pledge to dedicate ourselves to make a peaceful and equitable society. Thank you for listening.
So that was our joint statement. Now we are moving on to our key speeches. We will be having panel discussions based on these two key speeches. So first, let's welcome our first speaker, Saya Okumoto, the leader of our organizing team.
Hello everyone, my name is Saya Okumoto. I am a member of AAEE. This is the keynote speech for panel discussion titled Thank you. I will try again. This is the keynote speech for panel discussion titled Poverty and Education in Japan. I guess most of you think that I am on behalf of the university students who have suffered from poverty. Actually, this is not true. My family is not very rich, but I am not poor at all. After graduating from high school, I studied in a dance school for a year, which was not cheap at all. And I finally got enrolled in Sophia University, one of the top private universities in Japan. As you may think, Japan is an expensive country, and it costs a lot to afford the tuition for the private universities. I have been spending happy university life. In addition, it is my great honor to get a chance to work as a leader of this great BJEP international project. Then, why am I here now and playing the role of the key speaker in front of everyone? The reason why I am here is that I am the kind of person who is minor in my university. I was raised in a fatherless family. I was really lucky to have a chance to study in Sophia University because for people who have been raised in a fatherless family, it is common that they cannot afford their children to get a higher education. Do you think that in Japan, 1 out of 7 people are considered poor? According to the Japan Institute of Labor and Policy Training, more than half of the fatherless families are called deep poor. Deep poor is a condition which lives with $35,000 to $45 per person. You may think this amount is enough to survive in Bangladesh, but in Japan, $40 per person a month is far from enough. If you are in a situation of deep poverty in Japan, you would have to live in a very old and dark, tiny one-room apartment and cannot afford anything except for food. If you have a child, you will not able to pay their school lunch fees. And if they don't, their child will have no lunch when other students are having lunch. To get out of poverty, they may have to work as a prostitute or at a nightclub, and it is absolutely dangerous job for women. No money, no education, no job. Again, no money, no education, and no job. This vicious cycle goes over and over. We have welfare from government in Japan, but many people think it is embarrassing to receive them, so they try to survive by themselves. This vicious cycle has been a problem in Japan for more than a decade. Around my university friends, there is almost no one who has been raised in fatherless family, except me, because it is one of the top universities in Japan. Here's a question. Why I was able to enter Sophia University even though I didn't have a father? So the answer to this is that I have world's most amazing mother. Since my mother was well educated and very intelligent, she knew the importance of education. She's actually here and watching my speech. However, me and my mother had a possibility of becoming poor. My parents divorced when I was 3 years old. I was so young, so that I have almost no memory of those days. My mother told me that she had a hard time for a few years after divorce. She already had her regular job, but she had to do another job in her spare time. We couldn't even go to cheap restaurant. Please go to another slide. She hesitated to send a letter because it was too expensive for her at the time. But she had overcome all the difficulties and tried her best. So I didn't feel poverty alone in my childhood. However, the reality in Japan is that there are so many mother and child families which are having a hard time. One day, I found a shocking story in a newspaper. The title was Sad Christmas. On a Christmas day, a little girl waited for her mom to come home. It was a cold day in December, but the girl couldn't turn on the heater. Electricity and water supply were stopped because her mom couldn't pay for them. In the dark and cold room, a little girl just kept waiting, wrapping her in a blanket. Finally, her mom came back home at midnight. Their Christmas dinner was only one rice bowl. Mother and little girl shared one cold rice bowl, and they cried. In Japan, the gap between rich and poor is very big, and the income gap is very obvious. For example, you can see on social media that most of the students in my university travel overseas, but poor students cannot go abroad. What you guys from outside of Japan are seeing is only the wealthy people in Japan. Poor people in Japan are making so much effort to survive a day. Just think of a situation where you do not have enough money to raise your children. You have to work, but your child will have to stay at home alone because you cannot afford the charge for your children to go to a preschool or day nursery. Just imagine how you will feel when your child is waiting alone at home, and maybe your child may cry from the loneliness. All I want to say in this speech is that education and love would have power to solve poverty, including both material and mental meaning. I know someone would say it is just fine sounding talk. However, this is what I feel through my real experience. I hope children who are suffering from poverty all over the world can grow up in a home full of love and be educated well. After realizing the situation my mother was having when I was a little, I noticed that I was a lucky girl, and there are many fatherless families who are suffering from their poverty. I believe it is an essential task to solve this problem, and I have been thinking how we can solve this problem. What will you guys do to solve this problem? That definitely needs to be solved. Finally, I want to say thank you to my mom. Your immeasurable effort has made me what I am today. Although there must be many problems so far, now I can go Sophia University, a wonderful university. Thank you, dear my mom. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sai, for your enlightening and emotional speech. We will be digging deeper into this speech, but for now, please, everyone, give Sai a big applause for this wonderful speech. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. I feel like we still haven't gotten over her speech, but we will move on to the next speech from one of the participants of this project, Emdat Laju from Dhaka University, to give speech on a life of struggling with poverty in education. So everyone, please welcome Emdat.
Hello everyone, this is Imdad Raju, and actually my journey to higher education hasn't been easy. Today I will share the very important times of my life. I am a son of a 48-year-old construction worker father and my 40-year-old housewife mother, born and raised in a rural part of Bangladesh in a low-income household. I am currently a second year student of the University of Dhaka, majoring in Women and Gender Studies affiliated with Social Science. The reality of my family being poor bothered me growing up. So, first struggle at the primary level, focusing on poverty and participation of orphan mother. When I was 10, my family could not bear the 500 taka or 6 USD dollar. I needed to apply the PSC primary school certificate exam. But my mother did not lose her determination. She started to work as a housemaid or another house to pay my educational expenses. With the help of my mother's support, I was finally able to pay the 500 taka and passed my PSC exam with the result first division. And the second stage of my life is struggle at the secondary level. And there that was the time of lack of dream for poverty based on family limitations and dream sharing teachers. After passing my primary examination, I was admitted into a high school with a ninth place at the admission exam. I passed the JSC or Junior School Certificate exam with GPA 5 in 8th grade and proceeded to ninth grade in the science group. Ninth grade was the first step in building my new dream. I couldn't dream to being a doctor or engineer, but I was good at English. My English teacher comprehended everything about his suggestion blessed me. Again, my family couldn't bear the application fee I needed to apply for the SSC or secondary school certificate exam. With the effort of my mother collecting this money from an NGO, I applied and passed the SSC exam with a 4.33 GPA. Next. And next stage is struggle at the higher secondary level, the time of loneliness and building dreams. After completing my
I think that might be having some connection issues. So, are you there?
Yeah, thank you. I'm back. Actually, my network was disturbed, so I continue from this stage. After completing my secondary education, my dream died. I lost my dream to being a doctor or an engineer or anything else. Due to financial barriers, I ended up in the humanities group instead of science. But I was good at English and other humanities subject as well as being good and expectation was opposite to me. As I am the elder son among the three brothers of a low income family, they dreamed about me that I would go to the foreign country as a labor for the development of low income families. I was in falling into the depth of loneliness. I lost all the people who can motivate and share my dream and bravery with me. I had to struggle with reality alone. After entering college, my English teacher was impressed by my activities and shared the dream of being admitted to Dhaka University. Please give me one chance. I can do. Please give me one chance. I can do. With a tearful eye, I begged my parents. I thought over the matter alone and I was determined. My parents understood my dream, but they couldn't afford it. It was really hard for us. My tears didn't stop. At the five stage, struggle at the time of admission, bravery of a construction worker father, and hard work of me as a daydreamer. My tears had stopped falling when my distant relative was generous enough to pay out 10,000 taka for me to apply to cram school in Dhaka. I thought the long, lonely nights are now at the end. However, after I was admitted to the cram school, I didn't have the money to live in Dhaka city. It was over the budget for a low income family to live in the city with good eating and accommodation. My parents started to borrow money from people and I got a place to live where I was so miserable to the point that I had to sleep in reading room or the mosque. This had pushed my family past their breaking point, where they started living by eating only once or twice a day. It was tearful for my family and me once again. There was a time when my father was sick. He had a bad allergy problem, and the situation was so severe that blood was dripping from his hands and legs. I didn't know his serious condition at the time because none of my family members shared with me. He needed to take injection, but my money for that day ran out. With the 2000 taka he sent me half the amount for my food, and my money was locked in my account and I couldn't withdraw the money. I could do nothing but cry my eyes out. I cried while I called my father sitting down on a field. He didn't take the injection. Instead, he hid his pain and sent me another taka again. While I faced these kinds of miseries, the time of university exam had come. I was studying so hard and attentively so that I can gain my goal. My parents' serious condition was giving me determination, and I was working just like a robot. My efforts paid head off. I passed the exam and got the chance to study at Dhaka University. Still, I had to face the fact that I didn't have the money to admit my university. So my father took 1 lakh taka as a loan from an NGO again. And finally, I officially became a student at my dream institution, Dhaka University. Now I will share my final dream at present. Now I dream of getting the opportunity of higher study abroad and a research-based international profession. Everybody can say this is an eye-touching dream of me. I think I am a daydreamer myself, but I have little lit the fire inside of me to pursue my dream, and I believe that I could one day become a reality. You guys, please pray for me and my family. Thank you so much for listening me.
Thank you so much, Raju, for your very emotional and powerful speech. Thank you so much. I think everyone is really moved, and everyone is praying for you and proud of you. So thank you so much. We will talk about this key speech later in the panel discussion, but for now, we would like to close the epilogue part of this event. And as today's program begins, once again, we would like to express our gratitude to you all for being here today. Again, I am the host, Hana Nozawa, one of the participants and student leader of AAEE. So for the past 7 days, 16 students from Japan and Bangladesh have spent hours of the day discussing and doing research about the topic of poverty and education. Needless to say, both poverty and education are important factors that decide the life path for each person, and tackling these issues can change the whole nation or even the world. These are two big issues. That is why most people ask themselves, what can I do? This question has two meanings though. Most of the time it turns into what can I do anyways. Most people gives up in the face of too big of an issue. However, I know that all of you here today is not one of these people. You are aware and want to make an action. And so are we. We're still just students with no economic or political power. And yet, we have devoted ourselves into thinking of ways to somehow make even a little change. I am convinced that these are the people who are going to actually make an action and move a nation or the world in near future. We cannot be more thankful for this opportunity because to us, this is the first step for us to make first step of making a difference. So today, please stay with us so that we can present to you everything we learned from the program. Through live discussions, presentations on our action plans, and throughout this event, Let's keep on asking this question deeply and truly. What can we do? So I hereby announce the opening of Bangladesh-Japan Exchange Program BJEP 2020 final event. We would like to start off with the national anthems of Bangladesh and Japan. Team of BJEP 2020, please stand up and show respect. Please start with the Japanese anthem now.
আমার সোনার বাংলা, আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি, চিরদিন তোমার আকাশ, চিরদিন তোমার আকাশ, তোমার বাতাস আমার প্রাণে, ওমা আমার প্রাণে বাজায় বাঁশি সোনার বাংলা, আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি, ওমা ফাগুনে তো রামের বনে প্রাণে পাগল করে মনে হায় হায় রে, ওমা ফাগুনে তো আমের বনে প্রাণে পাগল করে ওমা ঘ্রাণে তোর ভরা থেকে কি দেখেছি, আমি কি দেখেছি মধুর হাসি সোনার বাংলা, আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি, কি শোভা কি ছায়া গো, কি স্নেহ কি মায়া গো, কি আঁচল বিছাইছো বটে মূলে নদী কূলে কূলে, মা তোর মুখের বাণী আমার কানে লাগে সুধার মতো, মরি হায় হায় রে, মা তোর মুখের বাণী আমার কানে লাগে সুধার মতো, মা তোর বদন খানি মলিন হলে আমি নয়ন, ওমা আমি নয়ন জলে ভাসি সোনার বাংলা, আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি।
Thank you, everyone. Please sit down. Thank you so much. Yes, it is photo time. So now with all of the BJP team, we would like to take some photos. So please be ready. Okay. I think some of the organizers are taking the photos just to make sure. Okay. Who is going to like send us some signals? Okay, maybe okay, maybe Saya-san, can you take the photo of us?
Maybe I can do screenshots so someone can.
I can do that.
Thank you, Saki.
Yes. So please smile, everyone, okay?
Saya-san, can you?
So 1, 2, 3, make smile.
Maybe I can do screenshots so someone can.
I can do that. Okay.
Thank you, Saki.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Please smile, okay?
Okay, so now that we have that pretty photo for this event, yes, it is time to have two of our guests to give the opening remarks. First, please welcome the president of AAEE from Tokyo Keizai University, Professor Akinori Seki.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
No. Okay. Nice to meet you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Akinori Seki, a professor at Tokyo Keizai University in Japan, and a president of Asia Association of Education and Exchange. First of all, I want to show my deepest gratitude to the late Dr. Jamila Liza Chaudhry and Professor Dr. Mahabub Hossain, and many other professors, educators, students who have been contributed to our organization and make this international project happen after 7 years of planning. Back in 2014, I promised to make a student exchange program between Bangladesh and Japan with enthusiastic educators in Bangladesh, and worked so hard with their kind support. However, because of security issues, we had no choice but to suspend it for over 7 years. In 2020, this year, the devastating pandemic seems to be taking away everything from us, people's lives, enjoyment, communication. But there is one thing that the virus cannot snatch away, which is global partnership. Our partnership with Bangladesh has never been torn up. Rather, we are strengthening it online. This project, Bangladesh-Japan Exchange Project 2020, is the very first online international project, but one of the most successful projects we have ever conducted for 10 years. Today's event will stand as a culmination of the project and the global partnership between Japan and Bangladesh. Last but not least, our chief guest, Professor Dr. Shahid Akhtar Hossain, Vice Chancellor of Eastern University, Bangladesh. I appreciate you for staying with us here in your very busy schedule. Also, I would like to express my gratitude to our special guest, Professor Salma Akhtar, University of Dhaka, Professor Dr. Mahabub Hossain, Brack University, Miss Mai Tomori, Embassy of Japan in Bangladesh, Miss Tamina Begum, United Nations Population Fund. Thank you so much for coming today. And thank you so much for all the passionate students who joined this project and are willing to move forward in promoting international cooperation. and people who are watching this event. My heart is always with Bangladesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Seki, for your opening remarks. And so due to some technical issues, Professor Hussain is, oh, I think he's now joining us.
He's coming now.
And,
Hello.
hello, Dr. Hussain.
Hello, how are you?
We're
Can you
very
hear
good.
me?
Yes, yes, sir.
Just a minute, I get in my.
Okay, so we would like to welcome our next guest to give the opening remarks. Professor Dr. Shahid Akhtar Hussain, Vice Chancellor of Eastern University.
That's
Everyone,
right.
please welcome.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, ফয়সাল, হ্যাঁ শুনছো তুমি আমাকে? হ্যালো, মইনুল তো মিউট হয়ে আছো। হ্যালো, হ্যালো।
Yeah, sir. Thank you very much for joining this program. We are so pleased and so happy for your joining.
Okay, thank you.
You are most welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. I think, yeah, it's time.
It's time for the speech from the professor.
কি করলাম, চলে গেলাম।
Sure.
Professor, could you please give us an opening remarks?
Slide.
Professor, we can hear you.
Hello, are you?
Yeah, স্যার শুনতে পাচ্ছি। আপনি এখন বলতে already Professor Akinoru Seki gave his speech, so we can.
Okay, okay. Hello, Sensei Akinori Seki. Are you listening? Are you here?
Yes, of course. Yes, of
Okay.
course. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, good to see you, you know.
Yes. Nice to meet you. And could you give us your opening remarks?
Oh, it's my part.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I thought that someone else will. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Professor Akinori Seki, President of Asia Association of Education and Exchange, Mr. Moinul Faisal of Switch Bangladesh Foundation, honorable special guest, learned discussant, and dear participants, very good morning. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to say a few words on the final day of Bangladesh-Japan Exchange Project 2020. Our friendship will overcome COVID-19. The aim of the project to discuss poverty and education with the students around the world. And another achievement is to achieve the sustainable development goal, what I understood from your projects. And the three goals particularly, the no poverty, quality education, and partnership of the goals. And because this is an youth forum, and these two organizations, the Asia Association of Education and Exchange and the Switch Bangladesh jointly hosting this program. And what I heard that from 30th August to today, the 7 days program it was. And I think there's a good thing come out from this week, from the discussions and from the project's outcome. And what I wanted to say, actually, it's a very good initiative. And you know, the Bangladesh and Japan is very old friendship, long-lasting friendship, and I hope the future will continue this this friendship. I visited Japan 3-4 times, particularly based on Gifu, you know, and then I visited all the part of Japan, and I ate most of the Japanese food, even natto, you know, and this is the very good thing to exchange, because for the youth exchange is very important, because these next generations after the COVID pandemic, that the fourth revolution, industrial revolution will start after this pandemic, and to achieve these revolutions, the important part will play by these young generations. And they are the young generations is the future of our world, future of the nations. And if as much as exchange will be happen, then we can eradicate poverty. If you can eradicate poverty, we can give quality education. And of course, the quality education, we need partnership. And you know, the third world country, the poverty eradication or reduction of poverty is very difficult. And particularly to achieve SDG, this pandemic may delayed to to reduce the poverty. And I don't know if the young generations, particularly the university graduates, if they contribute, if they work hard, then it will be very easy to achieve this goal. And of course, I must thank Professor Akinori Seki to give the time and take this initiative to achieve this SDG goal and focused on the young generations. Because I know that in Japan, the older generations population is higher. In Bangladesh, younger generations population is higher. And that can be, you can contribute a lot for Bangladeshi students, Bangladeshi young youth, to utilize them, to utilize their potentiality in development of the country, in the development of the nation, in the development of the economy, and through your services, through your help, and this source of friendship can accelerate this development. And another thing, sometimes we call COVID. Not all the things of COVID is bad. It's something new things coming up, because we can maybe with this discussion, we can join in this discussion. I know for if we have physical conference, I have to go Japan or you have to come Bangladesh, or only few people can know each other. But now thousands or hundreds of people can see us, can join us, and may be helpful. And this sort of virtual world is getting more and more important and getting popular nowadays. And particularly in Bangladesh, we never been at the education sector. We never use virtual classroom. We have but nowadays, due to pandemic situations, we are now used to use virtual classroom, virtual learning, virtual educations, even in the school levels. And that is the better thing, the use of the electronic media, use of the digital world. We are entering in the digital world, and you can get anyone, you can talk, any part of the world can be talked here. And I must say, for the youth, because it's a youth exchange program, I must say that Bangladeshi youth and post the Japanese one, and the Japanese youth, there is an exchange program. They came Bangladesh, for cleaning drive. That is very encouraging, and our graduates, our people must appreciate it. I also appreciated that time I was in the Dhaka University, and I must appreciate this Japanese collaborations, Japanese help. And I must now end my speech, because I will not take much time, and I have another meeting now. And it is again, I am very grateful and very thankful to Professor Akinori Seki and Moinul Faisal for giving me the opportunity to talk few words in these occasions, in this final day or concluding day of Bangladesh-Japan exchange project. And I think the later part, day-long program, if I can, I will join to hear the discussions and the project's outcome, what sorts of work they've done. I wish I will join later on. And then for now, for the moment, I say thanks to you, and I will leave now, and my best wishes to you and our next year, younger generations who are participating in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hussain, for your wonderful opening remarks in your busy schedule. Thank you so much for coming here. We are all so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Akiniro. I will join later on. I will meet later on in future. Thank you very much. I am just leaving now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful speech.
Okay, Faisal, thank you. I'm just leaving. I will join again.
Yes,
I will join later on. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much for give us your valuable time.
Okay, so could I also ask Mr. Faisal to give us some remarks as today's event starts?
Faisal, it's your turn.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations. We are going to successfully completed of the Bangladesh-Japan exchange project in online. It's fantastic. I would like to thank all of you working in Bangladesh-Japan exchange project 2020. You all are working very hard to make this project success. And also, I would like to thank our honorable chief guests and special guests who are joining in this program. Also, I'd like to thank the organizer. Those are working hard for make this program success, and all the participants. Last 7 days, they are working tremendous work for this project. I think this program does an amazing job for both countries' participants. It's create new experience for both countries, and further we can take new challenges by this experience. And I'd like is our main theme of this project is poverty and education, and further we can go in action for developing our country, and also by the you know, Japan is more developed country, and also Bangladesh is a developing country. So I think it's very important to collaborate program with Japan to learn from Japanese participants or also for Japanese. So by the way, one day Bangladesh will be a developed country like Japan or USA or some of this country. And most of the I think this program will be more, and next time we will be organized such kinds of program for our country. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Faisal. Okay, so thank you so much for 3 amazing opening remarks, and thank you. We're also grateful for our special guest for being here. So now we will move on to the panel discussions. Okay, so first part, we will discuss based on Sae Okumoto's key speech. The panelists are Ms. Tafrima Begin from UNFPA, Yamanaka and Tomoki Tanaka from Japanese participants, and Jasmine Lima from Bangladesh organizing team. Okay, so let's start the discussion. So Sae's key speech was about her life, and also it included some important issue of relative poverty and deep poverty in Japan. So first of to kickstart this discussion, I would like to ask Jasmine for your honest opinion or comments after listening to her speech. Oh, you're muted. Jasmine, you're muted. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Hannah, for giving me the opportunity to share my opinion. But first of all, I would like to wish you a very good morning today, Professor Akinori sir and honorable guests and participant organizers. You're really hard work make this program happen today. According to size space, I can mention that the poverty scenario and education system is quite different from Bangladesh. In Japan, relative poverty seems very higher than Bangladesh. Here, gender inequality but disparity, you can say, and being single parents is most vulnerable cause for being poverty and not get higher education in future. Even though there are gender disparity, because of gender disparity, most of family, the student or child get to drop out from schooling, or they didn't get proper food or accommodation. They can bear the financial expenses to continue to education. Even though Sai said that being a kid of single mother, sometimes she get some sufferings, but she has wonderful mom that she can afford a lot of things for her, that she couldn't see the kind of serious sufferings in her life. But everyone is not lucky like her. Yeah, they have faced she told a story that one child was one girl who was a kid of single mother, and she didn't afford a proper life for her, they can make a proper food, proper accommodation, even though she had to suffer a lot in cold things, and share one bowl of rice. So this is the scenario of many of rural part, maybe in Japan. They had suffered a lot for being poverty, and they didn't get proper education. I think maybe proper care of taken by parents or some engagement of youth can make this issue solved and their peace and develop to the society to make better world.
Thank you. Okay, so you mentioned about like proper parent care, but I think maybe for single parent, the reality is that it can be difficult. So maybe as a Japanese, Mai, can you like elaborate on that, like how the single parent is traveling in Japan?
Okay, and I think like the reason for most of the single parents are suffering from poverty more than like two parents is that like maybe it's difficult to take care of their children and manage their house at the same time to work a lot that is enough to get enough money. So yeah, and the difficult and how can I say issues we have to consider about that is the system in social system makes that single parents difficult to survive. Like for example, like to take care of their children if there's a support, or like if there's a like kindergartens to send them, or like the support to single parent, it's gonna be like more meaningful. But problem is, yeah, social system makes them more difficult to survive by themselves. And the point we cannot ignore is it's difficult to notice about that kind of poverty from outside. So maybe like in my opinions, from child speech to education empower the peoples and help people a lot to get out from poverty. But point that we cannot ignore is it's difficult to notice about that from outside. So it's important to consider about how we can include that kind of peoples as a member of societies. I think that is my opinion.
Thank you so much for your opinion. So I want to ask Miss Tafmina, are you there? Maybe not. Oh.
Yes, I'm there. Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much for to invite me in this valuable platform where we can actually benefit, Bangladesh can benefit, especially for the street children and underprivileged children. This is actually a great opportunity, work for the, the children we actually consider that from the ultra poor areas and the underprivileged areas. So it is actually good initiative. Thank you, Switch Bangladesh, Faisal, who actually initiative and work hard for these children and for to provide proper education, at least education that helps these kids, that they know that how valuable they are in this world, in this society. Actually, it's really good because I involved with this school since long, and I'm working with Faisal. I know their vision, mission. I know them, that what they actually contribute for these kids. So I'm sure this association, this platform, it helps to improve their lifestyle and let them realize that they are actually, it's a very valuable, these kids can contribute a lot in future if we help them.
Thank you so much for your words. Yes. Since this is the panel discussion based on science speech, I want to ask regarding Mai's opinion just now. She talked about the invisible poverty in Japan, and I want to ask, I think since in Bangladesh, everyone is aware of the extreme poverty, so I want to ask if how is the invisibility of poverty in Bangladesh, and also what is the government or the society doing to improve those poverty?
Actually, to be very honest, I can tell you that Bangladesh poverty is not invisible. It's actually very visible. It's my true opinion. And people, that's why we are here, that we will strongly make it invisible, this poverty situation. So the thing is that these kids, we are working for them because they are, what I can say, right? Japan government, in Japan society, there is, because the situation is totally not similar, it's different, because you talk about single parents, you talk about the busyness of the parents and the situation. But Bangladesh, actually, these kids never realize that they have family, their parents are working, they are a full day, they are outside, like living behind them at home, at the street. They are just coming around, doing nothing. And they don't know, actually, even they don't have, I guess, their parents don't have an idea. They don't have any thought that their children should go to school. They are a daily laborer, they are working, and they think that their kids will do same after some age, like 5-6 years. When they will grow, they will 5-6 years, they will start with them, helping them by working. They never think that they should go to school, their life can be better. And that's why we need to give them idea, give them thought that please, your kids are valuable for you. You are not educated, but for your kids, there is a scope. They can go to school, they can start their better life, and they should, it's their right. It's their right. So this is our, actually, this should be our main focus, that we can give them the realization that education is important for them, very, very important for them. Because when I work for them, when I go to them, when I talk with them, they said, we don't want to go back home, because at home we don't have to do nothing. But at school, we can have so many things to do. We can dance, we can talk, we can share our thoughts, we can learn. So they enjoy school. So these things we have to give their parents, this idea we have to give their parents, their thoughts, that put your children, send your children to the school, that for the better of their life. Okay, so this is my totally experience when I work with them. This is my practical. When I go to them, they are very eager to know. They are very eager to learn. They are very, 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 like they are happy when they are in school.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
After school, if I tell them that it's done, it's over your school, you go back at home. No, I want to stay more. Like this way they talk all the time. We are enjoying our school. So this is important for me, that just let them realize school is important for them. Thank you very much.
It's like kind of like the opposite for Japan, because in Japan, the involvement of parents is really like strong. And I want to ask Tomoki about maybe like shadow education in Japan, because Miss Tafmina just mentioned about the kids wanting to stay at school because they love the school. But in Japan, sometimes the educational system can be pressuring. So can you talk about shadow education and like the pressure Japanese students faces?
Okay, thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk as well. So I guess I was expecting from other people to talk about unseen poverty, but I guess I can also talk about shadow education in Japan as well, because I think in Japan, like shadow education, for example, cram school, like education after school is really famous and popular among the youth in Japan. but I think this is making like people who are in poverty harder to get get same opportunity with others, because shadow education or cram school is usually expensive for people who cannot afford for it. So I think like it is expanding the gap between poor family and people who can afford for cram school. So I think yes, shadow education is a problem in Japan, and I also agree with the point that the education is really important in terms of changing the situation in Japan, like, for example, answering poverty, because by educating people, they will be able to know that there are problems exist in Japan, and they will make a society that allows people to talk more freely about their needs and their help. I think this is lacking in society in Japan right now. There is tendency, there's tendency to hide their social, like financial situation in Japan. So I think, to put in nutshell, I think education and also changing the education is important. Yes.
Thank you. And you said you are preparing something about unseen poverty. Do you want to talk about it as well?
Yes. So like, as I grew up in Thailand, and as I went to Japanese school, like I wasn't aware that there are people or children who's different from me. Like I thought everyone's same, and I thought like everyone had same opportunity as me. But when I think back, I think there were some difference in. Like I thought everyone was same, but I think now I can say that there were people who is suffering when I was like ignorant on that issue. So I think it would be more important to educate young, and also society as a whole. Yes.
Thank you so much. So, Jasmine, like, how can we like better the education so that the problem of poverty alleviates?
Okay. How we can eradicate the poverty system, and how to improvise the education system, then I can mention a government can take a step to minimize the expenses to education in higher education, or got admission, taking preparation, something like that. And also different kind of NGOs, NPOs can take a great role to get me attention of parents or some mass people, to awareness, creating awareness about education, that every single person needs take proper education to betterment of his or her life and better future. Even though parents should be aware of their children's education, and to give them a proper protected area, or there they can have a feel safety, and there no disparity in between girls and boys. And sometimes youth engagement of this like BJP program, also there can replace another program or another issue, can create that make people to improvise their situation or get involved, that they can happen. Education is the most important thing. They can roll their play their role to betterment of their education and their life, I think.
Thank you. What about Mai? Do you have any like solutions for maybe like specific to Japan? Like,
Can I interrupt
Yeah.
about this meeting? Can I interrupt, Anna?
What about?
Yeah. Professor Salma Akhtar, she already joined in our program. She have another appointment, so I will request him to say something about our program. So, how to say, Akmiri-san?
Okay, so could I have any words from Dr. Salma?
Professor Salma, Maisha in this idea. Okay. So,
Professor Sharma in the Zoom?
Yeah,
Okay.
Maisha. Her ID is Maisha.
Maisha.
Yeah.
Maisha. Where's Maisha? We should accept Maisha.
Miss.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hello.
The special guest of our program, Professor Salma Akhtar, for joining our program. We are very pleased and for this.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I'm sorry that I have an urgent appointment. I was really enjoying the discussion. First of all, I'd like to thank Switch Foundation for organizing such a very timely issue. I would rather say the Asia Association of Education and Exchange. And also I'd like to thank you for actually selecting very, what can I say, very crucial issue, which is linking 3 different sustainable development goals, goal 1, goal 4, and goal 17. And if we talk about Bangladesh and Japan, I was listening to your presentations actually quietly. So I can see that the major difference is Japan is obviously a developed country, a role model for both the developed country and the developing country. And as you know, that Bangladesh is actually heading towards, at least intending towards being a middle income country and trying to have social development indicators on track along with the economic indicators. And particularly when we are talking about sustainable development, this is to be noted that Bangladesh actually did excellent in the MDGs as well, particularly regarding education, regarding gender equity. When I was looking at the programs today, I think what caught my eyes and thought that one very crucial issue was included there, particularly the gender equity. So if I talk about the Sustainable Development Goal and Bangladesh education sector and how these are related, I would like to focus on the various SDG areas such as the preschooling, early childhood, and the universal primary education, technical and vocational education, and the higher education. In the preschool and primary school, Bangladesh has achieved quite a significant gender equity in recent years. Obviously, there are still gender discrimination, there is still poverty and other social indicators, particularly like child marriage, remoteness, rural-urban differences is there, inequalities there regarding poverty. And if we talk about technical education, I have done several research with World Bank, ADB, and other development partners. Bangladesh is now focusing a lot on the technical education, but we have noticed that there is an image crisis for the technical education, as people consider technical education is not for the upper class, not for the middle class, it's sort of for the poor socioeconomic strata. So the technical education is actually a wonderful area where poverty and education can be linked, because we know that job market is basically depend on employment generation. And general education, almost 5 lakh students are coming out, but they are not getting jobs. Technical education actually can fill in that gap, because technical education in one side gives them links towards the international market, international demands on the technology. We know that the world is advancing a lot in the technology. At the same time, it really encourages children, students for going for entrepreneurship. So they are providing jobs as well. If we talk about the higher education, in the public universities, these are open competition. We don't have gender disparity because it depends on the merit. But coming up to that level, actually, we have to focus on the secondary and higher secondary education, that how women are getting access, whether they are retaining there. If we talk about the dropout, in the early childhood, dropout rate is higher among the boy students. But in later, when they're coming to grade 9, grade 10, because of the child marriage, dropout rate really goes up for the girls, though they are really doing well. And as you were talking about the scheduled education, I think it has some similarity with non-formal and informal education in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh actually have a various streams of education parallelly going on: Bangla medium, informal education, non-formal education, English medium, madrasa education, which actually provides a various range and various quality. So if we are talking about employability, if we are talking about poverty eradication, poverty reduction, we have to think of how to make it gender parity inside that, how to make it a quality education, how to link it to the job market. So I think I was I hope that I could join the whole discussion, because this was really thought-provoking the way you were thinking. And one of the discussions from Bangladesh, as she was talking about the parents' role, parents' perception about education. I'd like to add 2 points here. One is actually regarding the parents' role, there is a huge rural-urban differences. In urban areas, parents are the main persons who are pushing their children to education sector, because we are sending our children to high sort of image English medium school, high image Bangla medium school. Then there are some public schools where low income groups are going. So parents are mostly more motivating children to go there. Is highly expensive. But if we go to the rural areas, these are very educators driven education. The teachers, educational institutions, government education officers, NGOs, they are actually providing the services. Most of the parents actually don't know the value of that. One of the major reasons, I think, marketability, because if they don't find the economic return or any kind of social values of education, obviously they won't be interested. But we, the urban people, see it in a different way, that we are capable of sending our children towards higher education abroad or higher education in Bangladesh in the topmost educational institutions. So that makes a huge difference. And actually, I had an opportunity to go to Japan as part of the youth exchange program. And lots of my friends studied in Japan as postdoctoral research fellow, and also did their a doctoral fellowship and doctoral fellowship. And I always had a huge fascination of Japanese education program, particularly the excellence of the education. So Bangladesh actually can learn 2 different things. What are the modalities of the education in Japan in the children, and how are they addressing the different level of socio-economic groups? Because obviously poverty exists everywhere, all over the world. There are pockets of poverty everywhere. So how Japan, as you were talking about the shadow education, so Bangladesh learn from there. And second issue I think Bangladesh can learn is actually basically the quality education, how to really make classrooms more enjoyable, more, what can I say, students can actually learn from it. I think Bangladesh is heading towards more of certificate-based education rather than the learning procedure itself. So students actually don't get that, not very practical learning system in the schools. They start school in 7:30, finishes at 2:30, classes after classes. Children are only receiving lectures. So they can actually learn how Japanese schools are educating their children, making education more of a fun, more of a learning object rather than achieving and receiving certificates. So I would like to thank you all, and at the same time, I hope that this was really great success, and the discussions were very much relevant, very much timely. And one issue I would like to add, that because of the COVID, we know that all over the world, children are actually facing the worst because their parents are losing jobs. So the poverty level is really going up. In Bangladesh, particularly recent time, we have seen in informal sector, 50 lakhs people lost job. In remittances and garments where the lower economic income groups are, more than 1 crore people actually lost jobs. And in informal sector, huge number of people are losing jobs. And they're going back to villages because they can't afford staying in Dhaka city or the urban areas where this is very expensive. And government and NGOs are actually very much worried that 1/3 of the children may drop out and they may not come back to the classroom again. So Bangladesh is really in dilemma, and Bangladesh can learn how the other countries, and because Japan is, we know, one of the most dearest and very much supportive, friendly development partners of Bangladesh and many other countries. So Japan can, from their learning of their own country, as well as the development supports they're providing to other countries, actually can give Bangladesh vision. How can they cope with this? How can they really, at the same time, address poverty and then can prevent huge dropout, particularly girl children, and particularly in the lower income strata where they usually don't find the benefit of education much. So I would request you all to continue, and I'm very sorry that I can't stay anymore. Thank you so much for inviting me
Thank you
today.
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for give your valuable speech in here and give us your valuable time.
Thank you so much. So I think Professor Salma kind of wrapped the whole discussion up, but maybe lastly, since we are over like 10 minutes, just very shortly, maybe can you guys give some ideas for solutions or maybe hope for future in both country, like poverty and education in both country? So maybe start off with Jasmine, like very shortly because of the time.
Sorry, I interrupt. You can ask me. You ask me.
Can you like very shortly because of the time, very shortly give us some solutions or like hope for the future?
Okay.
Yeah.
If I can say something in shortly, then to improvise the situation of Japan, I mentioned the government should minimize these expenses and they create more shadow education and they motivate parents to their children have proper education and NPOs or NGOs can play an important role to award the mass people, and also the youth generation can create more youth organization and participate on them. They can raise the voice for gender disparity and proper education and being to eradicate poverty from Japan. Maybe I think that will be work. That will work.
Mai, are you ready to go?
Okay, and thank you for all of you guys. And if I talk about Japan's, like actually it kind of really serious that have been serious about the unseen poverties and also like the relative poverty too. And as I said, and as we discussed in these discussions, education is kind of really like powerful way to empower the people and help people get out from poverty. But actually, like if I see the realities, poverty or like less educated things just passed down among generations. But it's not only about like themselves, because we all just consist of our societies. So I think personally, like, how can I say, especially us, yeah, as a young generations, it's better like we just consist of our societies and just try to learn and consider like how to design the societies all of the peoples can join and can be joined. How to include the person, even like someone are under the poverty or like under the less educated. That is the best way for our futures. And thanks for.
Thank you. Yeah, I think inclusiveness is important and also kind of very relevant to SDGs. So thank you. Also next, Tomoki, can you give us some solutions or hope for future?
Yes. I think as everyone pointed out, education is really important in order for people to help them, people to get out from poverty. And I think that's important, but also I just want to point out that there should be a strong bond in the community, because if I talk about Japan, I think the bonding in the community really will be helpful for people who's actually suffering. I think this, as a community level, I think this will be really helpful for people who's suffering in poverty, because everyone in the community, for example, neighbors can help each other and take care of each other. I think it might be small, but I think it can be a solution to the, I mean, not like biggest solution, but small like step to improve the situation. Yes.
Thank you so much. I think these are the 3 members who will be leaving here now, right? So, okay, rest of you will be remained in the room. So, yeah, everyone please give members of first panel discussion a round of applause. Thank you for your discussion and thank you. Okay, so we will now move on to the second part of panel discussion. So this time we will time it so that we won't have any delays. So please beware of the time. It's only 20 minutes. So in order to keep the conversation going, each person have to talk a bit shorter. So sorry for that, but please keep that in mind. Okay, so second panel discussion will be based on Raju's speech of his life and about on poverty and education, and panelists are Professor Dr. Mahbub Hussain from Brack University and Amanokawa Takahashi and Arisa Suzuki and Mahbub from the participants and also our special guests. So, okay. I think his speech were very touching, very moving. So I want to ask one of the Japanese members who are not here yet. So maybe can you bring back some Japanese members here?
Yes, I sent message now, so please wait for a while.
Okay. So, okay. I think then.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you.
Okay, the Japanese members are here. Mahbub is also here. So they're moving. So I want to. Okay. So yeah, I wanted to ask one of the Japanese members to give us some like impressions of the speech because it was obviously like very moving and very kind of shocking for Japanese members maybe. So Ama, can you give us some comments?
Okay, thank you very much for the time to give me like impression about like Rajat's speech. Actually, his like message or his entire speech was really impressive, and I actually moved a lot and almost cried when he when I listened his like hardship and struggle to achieve like his dream to be a student of Dhaka University of Dhaka. So actually I was so like the one things in my mind was that because there was so much, how should I say, family support to achieve his goal, because and that yes there was more weight on his like family support. So I realized that there should be like so economic situation matters a lot when it comes to achieving the higher education. So I realized that family background matters a lot. Yes, in the current situation.
Okay, thank you so much. So I would like to welcome one of our guest panelists and speakers, special guests today. Dr. Sain, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Professor Mahabub,
Yeah,
nice
how
to
are
meet
you?
you. Thank you very much for making time for us. I miss you a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, on what topic should I talk actually? Poverty on?
Yes, we were just talking about the family background and its strong relations to poverty.
Okay, actually, many people have misconception that if you give aid to the people, to Bangladeshi people, the poverty will be reduced. It will not never happen, because the system need to be changed. If you, after our independence, one United Nations official said that if you give food, they will survive. And if you give education, they will survive with dignity, okay? So in our country, a lot of relief came after independence, but due to corruption, the poor people did not get them. Many of them did not get them. Corruption is single most problem in reducing poverty, and another is the as you have learned from the previous speaker, that there is a vast difference between the system of villages and cities. City women are educated, and those who are going to the universities and others, they have power. I mean, they have voice. They can tell. They can. Um, they are very, I mean, in advantageous position compared to the village girls. Village girls are being forced to get married at very early stage of their life, say 14 years, 15 years, 13 years, and so on. And they don't have, they are, I mean, deprived from their rights at every moment. So, so there is a vast difference. They are considered as a lower class of human being to many, but the things are just opposite in cities. Okay, so education, if we can give education to the woman, then it will help to reduce poverty. The educated woman knows how to use money, how to improve the family, and so on. But early marriage is a very big problem in Bangladesh, and throughout the country, the people force the woman to get married. And in villages, many parts, the you know, dowry. You know what is dowry? The woman should give money. Woman's father should give money to the man's uh, father, parents. Okay, which is which is against our religion, Islam. That this is very much against Islam, but people are practicing this in villages. This is so the many people in the villages expect their baby will be man, not woman. Okay, but in scenario is very different in city, Dhaka city or Chittagong or everywhere. The scenario, we have equal rights between man and woman. So the most important thing is that the reduction of poverty. You know, rickshaw puller. You know, rickshaw puller. They are very poor, and even in summer day they have to pull rickshaw. And I asked them, why you have chosen such a difficult job? Don't you have land in your villages? They said, many of them said that river has, uh, due to river erosion, they lost their land. But the government and the many foreign organizations put a lot of money to make embankment in the river so that river is not eroded and the people do not get poor. But a big amount of money is being stealed. I mean, money is being not used properly, and every year there is flood and many people are becoming poor again and again. So many factors are behind this poverty: early marriage, overpopulation, corruption is one of the single most factors. The government, people, many, not everybody, but many of them are engaged in corruption. Uh, they don't make proper dam in the river, and every year hundreds of thousands are people in the villages are losing their lands, and they are becoming I mean beggar, I mean sometimes beggar. And another thing that I lived in Japan for 5 years, and one thing I like in Japanese society that people want to be, people hate begging, okay? But in Bangladesh, there is a culture that if they don't have money, they ask money to other people. But in Japanese people, I found that they will rather die instead of begging. But there is poverty is very, very less in Japan. That is another reason, because of the government of Japan is pro people. I mean, more pro people than Bangladesh government. So they did a lot for Japanese people. I think the corruption should be very important, and JICA is working in Bangladesh. They should be more. I mean, they should monitor more how their money is being uh,
Okay, thank you
spent.
so much. I think
Thank you very much.
thank you. We will get back to you because this is discussion. Like we will keep the conversation going. But okay, so I think Dr. Hussein's had like talk had so many elements, but maybe maybe like Arisa, you have interacted with like poor children in Japan, right? Did you feel that, as Doctor just said, that in Japan it is hard to seek for help?
Hard to see what's
Is it like did you feel that in Japan it is hard to like ask for help?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. In Japan, as the previous discussion said, like the poverty is invisible, and the children, especially from poor family, it's so hard to say help. But I thought it is more clear in. From Raju's speech, I felt it is more clear in Bangladesh that the fact that education is a big investment for poor family. And in Bangladesh, to complete elementary to high education, it's so hard. And as Amma said, it depends on parents. In the case of Raju, his parents struggle very hard to pay his tuition and his living expenses or something, and his immeasurable and his effort, he is going to Dhaka University now. But if the parents think that the education is less important, or even they feel it's important but they can't pay their children's tuition, no matter how hard they try, the children have no opportunity to take education. So this is not the problem which can be solved by building a school or supporting from Japan, but there are not uh, there are not enough environment with children focused on studying in Bangladesh. Also, I think, of course, getting to know the importance of education to parents, especially if you have daughters, girls children, but also the government should arrange the environment to encourage people to take education. And yeah, as Dr. Hossein said, I think the corruption or dowry, so like the culture which were rooted for a long time in Bangladesh, is also the big problem, and it should be solved.
Okay, thank you. So I think, yeah, the idea of people or culture, that is something that's in the root of the country, is very hard to solve. And maybe one of the keyword is regional disparity, because usually in the rural area, more people tend to think in more conservative way, and that leads to the parental issue or like gender equality. So Mahbub, do you know anything about regional like disparity? Like, have you seen those things in Bangladesh?
Yeah, of course, regional disparity is a main issue in today. If we come to the point of education, The regional disparity is like that most of the English medium schools or international curriculum based schools are in city area, but not in the rural area. And that's making the gap between the education of like the sustainability and the current education. And another thing is, in the city area, students are getting their technology more easily. uh, like most of the schools, there are assured that computer labs, projectors, etc. And on the other hand, in the rural area, our government also make a project on that. One teacher will have one laptop, and for every class there will be a projector, but not in a, actually it didn't become the vast that is needed actually. Regional disparity, another point is to ensure this regional disparity. The present we also government also have the structure like ERC, Upajala Resource Center, like community centers, and these are ensuring, like overlooking those problems on the rural areas that are facing education. But now there is also in brief, I can say that regional disparity is also visible in Bangladesh.
Thank you so much. I know that Ama is from like the rural area of Japan, and in Japan also like 90% of the people live in the city, and regional disparity is very like important issue. Although like infrastructure is like very good in Japan, that's the big difference. But so do you know anything about like poverty or educational like opportunity, sorry, like regional disparity in those like opportunities?
Okay, thank you very much, Hannah. Actually, I'm from like isolated island of Japan called Awaji Island, and it's part of Hyogo Prefecture, southern part of Hyogo Prefecture, western part of Japan. And actually, like educational enthusiasm among the parents was really low, especially for girls. Like educational expectations, especially like for example, if even though girls, so there is one culture, so girls should work, so instead of going to academic field. That's why like most girls decided to go to vocational school for nursing instead of academic field. And I was a really rare case because I from the first year of my high school I was keep on saying that I want to go to Sophia University and in Tokyo and study English. But everyone criticized me at first. So why do you want parents to spend huge amount of money to live in Tokyo just for English? And it does not connect to your career like that. So I was so shocked and found out that there is a huge like how to say understanding to English or like perception to English is really low in the regional area, which is the big difference between like Tokyo or Osaka, the big city. So yeah, I can see that like people's perception toward education and also like importance of girls' education is really different. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we have only 5 minutes left, but maybe can I ask about the situation of Bangladesh as to maybe I think this is the repeatedly like this like comes up every time, but I think the parents' motivation to send kids to school like seems to be a big problem in Bangladesh. So can I ask about that to Dr. Hussein?
Yeah, it depends on the parents actually. It also widely varied that society in village in rural areas, the social system, some even if any parents want their children go to school, the social system there is like that because of some prejudices, they compel the parents that to give their daughters for early marriage, to go for early marriage. And after marriage, it becomes very difficult to go to school. And they send their children, women, I mean, girl children, to the houses of city for working as maid. They use their girls as their sources of earning. And after the garments flourish of garment industry, the number of maid have been reduced, but still there are, and the garments workers, the female workers, are being deprived from their right. But many parents even want, but they cannot send their school. But many are doing that. Situation is very different from rural area and city.
Thank you so much. Okay, I think new guests just came in. Am I right? You guys just came in, I think. Okay, so Miss Mai, can you introduce?
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt, but my name is Mai Tomori, and I'm working for the public relations of Japanese embassy.
Thank you. So I'm really sorry, but we are kind of it's time to kind of wrap up the discussion. But maybe can I ask everyone, but first to Miss Mai. So we talked about like several issues regarding the poverty eradication, like regional disparity, gender equality, and of course like relative and extreme poverty, and so on. So like what is the one topic that you feel strongest on, and what can we do to kind of better the situation? Can I ask first to Miss Mai? I think you're muted. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I think it is very important to focus on the disparity even within the Bangladesh. And also for people in Japan, it is very important as this is very difficult for us because of the distance as well as the differences in culture and habit. It is very important for us Japanese to stay aware of the disparity and the deprivation of the opportunity to access to the education.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now I would like to ask Amma the same question. Like, what is the issue that you feel strongest about, and like, what do you want? Like, how do you want to act on the issue?
Okay, so of course, as a girl student from the local area of Japan, I'm strongly interested in the regional disparity issues, and of course, as a like the student who moved from local to Tokyo, like metropolitan city. So I'd like to emphasize the importance of education to local area, especially local high school student girls. So I would really keep on saying that have be motivated on the higher education, going to the academic field will be like improve their lives a lot as I experienced. So that's why I want to keep on sending these messages to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What about Mapu?
I want to just suggest that the consciousness program, like more project, more G2P project, like government to people, that will be same connection, not by the representative. These type of things should be practiced. This should be motivated actually, and this is the thing I wanted.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, from the participants, Arisa, can you say something? Yeah.
I think Japan and Bangladesh have a little bit different problems, but the similarity of problem is the recognition of people. So I think the changing the people's thinking is the most important, and especially Japan, lack of awareness is the biggest problem. So, but young generation have possibilities to change the situation. I think, like Alma said, many young Japanese people or Bangladesh people think it's more make this problem more visible. So I think, yeah, change the recognition is the most important to solve this.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I think I would like to end the panel discussion session now. But so yeah, thank you so much for the guests. Do you have any like just one word or like because of the time? I'm sorry. Do you Dr. Hussein maybe have something for the youth?
Yeah, I just want to add one sentence that in human society, we have created many races and many things, many levels of people. But what I have seen in Japan, which is wonderful thing, which does not exist in Bangladesh. My professor, I did PhD from Shinshu University of School of Medicine, and my professor was a renowned cardiologist of Japan, Professor Sekiguchi. I have seen him to respect a cleaner by bowing his head, but which is absent in Bangladesh. But in Bangladesh, we need to learn respect the every people of every profession. Every profession should be given. People of every profession should get respect. Even a sweeper should get respect, which exists in Japan. But in Japan, the what is lacking, that people are scared to talk with anybody, that he or she might feel disturbed and kind of. But we miss. They are not unfriendly, but because of these formalities, people think they are unfriendly, but they are not actually unfriendly. They have good heart, but this idea should be changed, that we should be, if they are more informal, and then many things will be solved. We can work together to find out the right cause of poverty and try to alleviate poverty. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hussein, and thank you also for our guest, Miss Mai, and also our panelists. Thank you so much for the discussion. So yeah, this is the end of the panel discussion session. Thank you so much for all. Yeah, let's give everyone a round of applause. Yep. So thank you so much. Now we will move on to the introduction of Japan and Bangladesh by our organizers to give the basic information of each country briefly. Okay. So Yuriko, are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I start? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending today. I'm Yuriko Sekine from the Japanese organization team. Before watching the outcome presentation from the delegates, I would like to introduce a little about cultural and regional differences in Japan. So it would be easier to get some idea of Japan. Here is the contents I have prepared for today. Next slide, please. And first, now you can see the basic information. Yes. And since Japan stretches from north to south, we have various climates and traditional cultures. Japan is technologically advanced. At the same time, we cherish our own traditional culture. There is a video I really love which describes new and old parts of Japan. Please take a look. Thank you. So how was the video? Did you get an idea of how Japan is like? As I said in the other slide, Japan has a variety.
Hello, dog.
Welcome to Japan.
Sorry. So as I said in the other slide, Japan has a variety of regional differences. So from here, I'm going to compare the differences of Kyoto, which was a capital of Japan long ago, and the current capital, Tokyo. So back in the day, Kyoto used to be the central city of Japan, which is located in the western part of Japan. Kyoto has beautiful landscaping and architecture that makes the city very beautiful, and you can feel Japanese traditional cultures through many shrines and temples. On the other hand, the current capital of Japan, Tokyo, is located in East Japan. Tokyo is the political and economic center of Japan. The population just in Tokyo is about 14 million, and from the data of the United Nations, it's considered as the most populated metropolitan area in the world. As you can see in the picture, there are tons of skyscrapers in Tokyo, but also there are many shrines, temples, beautiful beaches, and mountains. And there are also some serious problems instead. Since Japan is rich in nature, we encounter many natural disasters. 20% of earthquakes happening in the world are in Japan, and 7% of active volcanoes in the world are in Japan. Recently, as our society has become more sustainable than before, women are having more working opportunities, and because of this, declining birth rates are becoming a serious problem year by year. In the end, I bet everyone loves food, so I will share more information about Japanese food. Japanese dishes are classified as a World Cultural Heritage by UNESCO, and it's a very special cuisine. We use the seasonal ingredients into the cooking, respecting nature and expressing the beauty of nature. There are many rules on how to serve the meal, such as using seasonal tableware. For example, take a look at the photo in the lower right corner, which is a photo of wagashi, traditional Japanese sweets in English. And this wagashi is expressing seasonal flowers. We use seasonal flowers or ingredients so we can have them only during specific season. Japanese food is not only enjoyable to taste, but also to see. I think you can feel Japanese spirit after eating Japanese food, so please try eating it. So did you get an idea of what Japan is like? Japanese tradition is related to Japanese spirit, so it might be easier to understand the presentation from the delegates. Any of you who are interested in Japan, please search more about Japan. I appreciate your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuriko, for your introduction of Japan. Excellent choice of video, by the way. And now we will move on to the introduction of Bangladesh by Tausik, one of the Bangladeshi organizers. Tausik, are you there? Okay, maybe not. Okay, I don't see Tausik here. So
I'm calling him now.
Okay, thank you.
Well, let's move on to next program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's time. Oh, okay, he's here.
Yeah, the stream was a bit behind, so. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Taushik, and I'm going to be introducing Bangladesh to everyone. Can we move to the next slide? All right. So officially, Bangladesh is known as the People's Republic of Bangladesh. It's a Southeast Asian country situated by the Bay of Bengal. It shares its border with India and Myanmar and has neighboring countries such as Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and also India and Myanmar. So the capital is Dhaka city. It's the largest city in Bangladesh it's about 306 square kilometers. And Bangladesh has 6 divisions, including Dhaka, Khulna, Chittagong, Barishal, Mymensingh, Rajshahi, Rangpur, and Sylhet. Can we move on to the next slide? All right, so general info about Bangladesh. So the official language for Bangladesh is Bangla. The state religion is Islam, and the current running prime minister is Sheikh Hasina. The national victory day is on 16th December. Bangladesh has an ethnic percentile of about 98% Bengali and 2% of other ethnicity. Um, Bangladesh was declared independent from Pakistan on 26th March 1971, and it was named Bangladesh after its previous name, East Pakistan. Can we move on to the next slide? All right, some stats for Bangladesh. All right, Bangladesh has a total population of around 162 million people. The population density is 1,106 square kilometer. The country has a land mass of 148,460 square kilometers. The GDP PPP is about 917 billion per capita and is about 5,453. The GDP nominal is around 347.991 billion. Per capita is 2,173 USD. So Bangladesh is the 8th most populous country in the world, and it's also the most densely populated country in the whole world as well. In terms of annual GDP growth, it's around 7.9%, according to the World Bank, and it has an HDI of around 0.614, which is a medium. The currency is calculated in taka. Can we move on to the next slide? All right, here you can see I have listed down some of the popular tourist spots in Bangladesh. It includes Cox's Bazar, Sri Mongol, Sundarban, St. Martin Island, Bandarban, Sonargaon, and Kuakata. These are some of the popular tourist spots here. And in Cox's Bazar, you can actually find the world's longest, most continuous sea beach. It is the 75-mile long, uninterrupted natural sand sea beach on the western coast of Chittagong. Cox's Bazar has been under extreme development due to the recent refugee crisis. So due to the high economic activity, it's definitely developing very fast. And also in the Sundarban, we can find it's the home for the Royal Bengal tiger. And it's also the spot for the world's largest natural mangrove forest. So there's that from that as well. So can we move on to the next slide? All right, so here, as you can see, I have added some pictures for some of the traditional clothes for Bangladesh. Now, the traditional clothes usually differ from season to the time of the year to festival, etc. So it also depends on the economic situation of a person. So let's say, for example, if the girls dress in red, it signifies the Bengali New Year holiday. In spirit of the new year, people usually dress up in red, and it's celebrated on the 14th April. We can also see the traditional working class outfit, which is the lungi and the tank top or a shirt. It usually is worn by the working class men or casual clothing. And we also can see Punjabi, which is also worn by Islamic religious people throughout the year, and also by the general Muslim family throughout Eid holidays. We also have a picture of a traditional type of cloth called Muslim. It was a cultural and a heritage thing, but unfortunately, it does not exist to this day due to the British colony. So I guess that's it for me on that's it from me from the Bangladeshi introduction. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see myself out. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Tausig, for your introduction of Bangladesh. So now it's time for the participants to finally present our outcome of the project, where we set the agenda for each team and came up with each action plan. Okay, so first group to go in Bangladesh. So first one to go is Group B, presenting on poverty and education in Japan and Bangladesh. So, Sui, Arisa, are you all ready? Action plan. Okay, so first group to go. Okay, so please begin whenever you're ready. And Sui, you might wanna turn on your camera and mic and maybe.
Yes. Can I go with my camera turned down for privacy reasons?
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Konnichiwa, Amarshibetchaniben. We are Group B, and we are going to present our solutions in response to the problems of poverty and education in our respective home countries, Japan and Bangladesh. Now the second slide, please. Okay. To begin with, let us focus on the outline of our presentation. We will briefly introduce the aims and background of the research. Next, we will move on to the definition of poverty and its connections with education, the two main goals of our program. Then, we will examine the situation in Bangladesh and Japan and their respective solutions. In the conclusion, we will go through some of the implications of the pandemic. Next slide, please. Before starting with point 1, however, let us introduce our research topic. What are the reasons why poverty in education persists and how can they be solved? As you can see, our plan is to identify the issues in each country first and then move on to a solution. Let me ask a simple question first. Could you recognize the two illustrations on the bottom of the slide? We retrieved them from the official SDG page. Poverty and education are not only two of the suitable development goals, but also two keywords in our research. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Although it is easy to identify education, poverty tends to be harder to imagine. Is poverty limited to homeless people? Is it only the lack of money? What is poverty? Using the definition given from the World Bank Organization, poverty is a broad concept. It includes hunger, lack of medical assistance, unemployment, and so many other fields. Some of the consequences, which tend to go unnoticed, can even be connected to education. However, why does poverty persist? Some of the causes worth mentioning are gender inequality, lack of social awareness in rural areas, unequal distribution of facilities, lack of decentralization. Although poverty causes trouble in education, we believe that a solution to the issue can be found in it. In other words, we want to break the vicious circle of poverty and education through the instruction of communities and youth. Taharima will explain the precise situation of Bangladesh and its solution. Please, Taharima.
Honorable guests, fellow participants, organizers, teammates from Japan and Bangladesh, a very good morning. This is Taharima here. After a wonderful introduction from Swiren Kalistri, I would like to throw light on the contextual observation of the progress and problems of Bangladesh in achieving the SDGs 1 and 4. Our prior question was, what are the reasons why poverty in education persists and how they can be solved? As the answer to the question, let's now peep into the problems that relates poverty and education in parallel horizons. The fact is, poverty is the greatest hindrance to education in a country like ours. Besides, the prior problems include early marriage, school dropouts, population blast, gender inequality, lack of decentralization, and unequal distribution of wealth. Next slide, please. As for our action plan, human development and accountability. Let's know about it in another. The term human development refers to well-being. The 3 keys of Human Development Index are decent standard of living, knowledge, and a long and healthy life, which is yet tough to achieve for Bangladesh. And accountability is indeed largely questioned in administrative wings of the government and sometimes non-government sectors too. We have focused on 3 key binaries who would be focused in our action plan: women, ethnic minority groups, and people with special needs. So it may prove effective in Bangladesh context. Now, let us think how primary and secondary education can solve poverty. We have proposed inclusion of gender unbiased knowledge, sex education, practical agricultural skills, introduction to labor laws and family planning in primary and secondary levels, planning 1 or 2 classes per week based on human development, and discovering and nurturing capabilities of minority groups and people with special needs. Next slide, please. While discussing the details, we have faced 3 questions. How should we approach the problems? By whom and to whom it may refer, by when it may be achieved. The probable solution can be such: in order to achieve the goals, government, civil society, diplomatic allies, and aiding firms like JICA should work hand in hand. The target beneficiaries are students from primary and secondary levels, especially who are less privileged. We need specialized budget in national level and international funding agencies to achieve the goals. We can approach the problems through context mapping, feasibility study, regional sorting committee-based management. Next slide, please. For the probable timeline expectancy, it can be such: 2021, combating the pandemic losses; 2022, planning the infrastructures; 2023 to 25, implementation of the planning; 2026 to 28, monitoring and evaluation and further planning. If Bangladesh fails to exceed the timeline and the deadline of 2030 of the SDGs, it can work on with the similar plans, merging them with MDGs. Next slide, please. We have also tried to display a sample curriculum planning according to the previous mentioned ideas, which might prove effective for an inclusive education system that will free the country from the shackles of poverty, ensuring quality education. That's all from my side. And next, Emdad Raju shall emphasize on the merits of our plans related to Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thanks, Tahrima. Now I will talk about some probable merits that can be useful for the mentioned problems. Actually, this project is related to a lot of Bangladesh poverty problems. Some of the positive outcomes that can be predicted here are increasing awareness among the community, encouraging early employment after grade 8, for example, midwifery and nursing, and thirdly, tackling minority issues and modernizing family planning. And finally, decreasing class differences. And now Arisa will continue the next part.
Thank you, Raju. So now I want to move to the topic of Japanese situation. Do you know the existence of poverty problems in Japan? Maybe many people don't know that. Actually, most Japanese people also don't realize that. This lack of awareness is the biggest problem in Japan. And poverty affects especially children in the educational area. So we want to set this question. How can we include the whole community in the raising awareness process? In response to this question, we made the action plan, which is called Second Home Project. The purpose of this project is to decrease the educational gap I'm going to explain the detail of this project. You can see the sample flyer on the right side of the slide. I hope this will help you understand easily. The second home is a place where children gather after school and interact with people. It is open every day, and every student from elementary to high school can go there. They spend their time making themselves at home, and also it provides study support from volunteers. As you can see in this flyer, we want to set the discussion session once or twice a week. Through casual discussion about social issues like poverty, with people that are both young and old, will increase the awareness of poverty, widen children's perspectives, and also bring such topics out of the taboo zone. Next slide, please. The facility should be established by the local government to make it a sustainable project. However, the local government can't take action immediately, so we suggest that it might be started by volunteers as an example. And then it will pass on the government gradually and spread around the country. And it is managed by volunteers like college students and elderly people who retired from their jobs. Because of Japanese aging society, there are a lot of elderly people. In addition to this, the increase of interaction between young and senior generation can change the old-fashioned ideas which were rooted for a long time in Japan, especially in rural areas. In this way, we believe that this is not only an approach toward the educational gap, but also to regional disparity or community revitalization. We set the goal of this project as 2025. We can assure a sample can be started in a few months because all we have to look for are students, volunteers, and a few civil servants. However, an actual project with the permission and financial support of local governments may require some years. We believe that positive results will already be visible by 2025. Because the sessions will be held in schools or nursing homes, the only monetary fund needed is the wage for teachers. At last, I'd like to turn things over to Raju to tell the merits of this project and conclusion our presentation.
Thanks, Arisa. Now I will talk about some probable merits that can be useful for the mentioned problems. Actually, this project is also related to a lot of Japanese poverty problems. Some of the outcomes that can be predicted here are: first, study support to the children who cannot afford to go to cram school, and this can improve the educational gap. Secondly, raising awareness of poverty through discussion sessions might change the culture which considers talking about poverty a taboo. Thus, we think we can decrease unseen poverty by helping people realize their economic status and reach out for help. And the third one is improving the flow of ideas and increasing community integration through the social interaction of children, students, and elders. So far, we have analyzed the situation regarding poverty and education in both Bangladesh and Japan. In particular, I would like to mention that although the two topics are deeply related and depending on each other, our group considers poverty as the cause of lack in education and education the solution to this topic. Before concluding our presentation, let us reconnect the solutions we gave to SDGs. In our research, we are supposed to find a successful approach toward poverty. However, as we already explained in the merit session, because all the goals are interconnected, each plan can help tackle other global problems. For example, gender and social inequality can be decreased, while the construction and sustainable cities and communities can be helped. The case is particularly true for Bangladesh, where we plan to raise awareness of the youth on family planning and gender issues. Finally, we would like to consider the impact of COVID-19 in the process of achieving SDGs. The pandemic has affected people negatively from all over the world. As in Japan, the dropout rate increased among students because of the impossibility to work part-time. The situation in Bangladesh has been even more critical. A rise of unseen poverty among the middle class and difficulties in bearing internet costs and tuition fees are only some of the consequences of the virus. Overall, we can state that joblessness and school dropouts, which are particularly evident among the female population, are feminizing poverty throughout the pandemic. Because the situation has worsened and we have to take necessary steps quickly. Finally, long live Japan and Bangladesh friendship. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Group B, for your amazing presentation on poverty education in Bangladesh and Japan. So it seems that there are no questions from the viewers. So you guys did an amazing job, apparently. So before getting into the next group, since I failed to properly introduce one of the guests, I wonder if I can introduce her right now. Miss Mai Tomomi, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I couldn't introduce you properly.
Oh, no worries.
Do you have any words for this project, or maybe like the presentation now, or?
Well, firstly, I would like to appreciate all the initiatives and the very informative presentation as well as the discussions. And I am very happy to be part of this today. And thank you for invitation.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I think now we can move on to our group, actually. The second group is Group A, presenting on situation and solutions of gender equality in higher education. So, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start.
Okay, so hello everyone. This is research team A, and we're gonna give a presentation about the situation and solutions of gender equality in higher education. Could you go to the next slide, please? Here are our contents for today. First, I will introduce you about this presentation's topic, and then we will address the situation of Japan and Bangladesh, and we're gonna propose solutions for each countries. Could you go to the next slide, please? So as our goals, we have implemented the SDGs 4.3 by 2030, ensure equal access for all women and men to affordable and quality technical, vocational, and tertiary education, including university. We saw higher education as a ladder to climb up to acquire higher social and economic status. So we would have this as our foundation of our presentation. Could you go to the next slide, please? As our research question, we raised two questions. What is the standing of Bangladesh and Japan in terms of gender parity in receiving higher education? And what steps can be taken to decrease the disparity and to increase the standard of living? Could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so I will next move on to explaining the situations of Japan. Although it is a normalized idea that gender disparity does not exist in Japan in terms of higher education, as you can see from this graph, as the students graduate high school and go into university and graduate school, the percentage of girls gets lower than the percentage of boys actually entering these kind of institution. Could you go to the next slide, please? And there are two consequences to this phenomenon. One is academic background connects strongly to income and to gender bias in majors. I will explain further in the next slide. So first, as you can see from these two graphs, left is male, the right is female. Female have a lower income than male, and this gender pay gap may contribute to poverty rates among women. Could you go to the next slide, please? And in this graph, it shows that girls are less represented in fields of medicine, economics, science and technology, business and commerce. And as girls and women are systematically tracked away from these kind of fields throughout their education, this will limit their training and options to go into these fields as adults. Could you go to the next slide, please? So unseen gender disparity in higher education strongly connects with gender stereotypes. And in Japan, we saw these 5 factors strongly connecting to gender stereotype, media portrayal, higher expense for shadow education, relative poverty, parental values, and regional disparities. Could you go to the next slide, please? So next, I will talk a little bit about the positive feedback of gender inequality. So as these gender stereotypes exist, this would lead to less girls in good university and science majors, as well as less girls aiming for a higher status in the first place. And this would lead to girls depending on men with higher status, higher income, better opportunities. And what this would consequently lead to is a lack of female leaders. And this would create an environment where there are less females making the decisions for girls to have better options, better income, and this would eventually aggravate gender inequality. Could you go to the next slide, please? And next, Hannah would go into the action plan for Japan.
Okay, thank you, Ami. Now I would like to move on to the action plan to address the main and related issues comprehensively. Next slide, please. Our action plan for Japan is a project called Online Cram School for Future Leaders. The target is the middle and high schoolers in Japan. Let me introduce the content first. This project has 3 functions to comprehensively address the problems concerning our topic. First one is the function as cram school. For those who don't know what cram school is, it is called juku in Japanese, and basically it is same as coaching centers in Bangladesh, but more specialized for passing the entrance exams. This is the main actor of Japanese shadow education and cause of high expense for education. But here, it is free and online so that it is accessible to everyone everywhere. Second function is the education on gender equality. Unlike most schools in Japan, this project includes this in the curriculum. Last one is events to explore measures and train future leaders for less gendered educational choices. The third function is enforced by law, which is staged affirmative actions in super science high schools and faculties in each university. Next slide, please. So next, I will explain who is going to carry this project out. We suggest the government, especially the Gender Equality Bureau of Cabinet Office. We choose this department because even though they advertise, throw events, and present bills for gender equality, they focus on adults and haven't stepped into the educational field yet. But the primary and secondary education will decide the basis of people's future, and higher education defines it. It is high time this bureau took action towards gender equality in education. We believe that they are the appropriate actor for the project because first, they can utilize their power and spread of voice as the government. This department also has high motivation, experience, and can move faster. Secondly, they can invite professors from national university or even from abroad as the lecturers using the personal connection they have throughout the country and also to international organizations such as UN Women. Also, this is an online project, so the cost will be lower without the repeated lessons or venue. In addition, it is suited to the current situation and post-COVID-19 society where the governmental procedures are rapidly being switched to online. Next slide, please. So now, lastly, I would like to explain how to achieve the goals by this action plan with the timeline. By the end of 2022, developing the content, collecting the lecturers, and filming should be done. To prevent slow motion often seen in the government, they can make sure to base the curriculum or content on many existing online or offline cram schools in Japan. After a year of advertising, in 2023, they can finally start up the system and aim for 80% of the people's recognition rate. Alongside with this, they can begin with the affirmative action first stage of 30% of female in every faculty. In 2026 and 28, there will be first and second checkup. The Bureau can ask to rate the qualities of cram school and measure the awareness of gender issues among students. In these years, the stage of affirmative action also changes first to 40%, then to 45% in female in every faculty. In this way, we believe that by 2030, we can achieve these three goals. 1. Access for free online cram school for all. 2. Higher awarenesses on gender issues. 3. More than 50% of female in all faculties of universities in Japan. So this was our action plan for Japan. I will now pass it on to Samia to explain about Bangladesh.
Thank you, Hannah. Now I'll be presenting on the situation on Bangladesh. Bangladesh has already done a commendable job in gender equality. According to the Global Gender Gap Report 2020, Bangladesh has obtained 50th position out of 153 countries. Still, gender disparity remains prevalent in the society. This is a snapshot of gender disparity in higher education. Here we can see that compared to the college, enrollment percentage of female students reduced abruptly in the tertiary level of education. Next slide, please. Which leads to the question, why the disparity? Next question. Although many factors affect in this case, we are going to address three major roots of this problem. The first one, gender discrimination, in which family prefers investing for the education of their sons since they are the bread earners of the family. The second one is the early marriage. Early marriage and early motherhood halts the education of the girls since they have to take the responsibility of the family over their career. And the third one, financial instability. Due to the financial dependence on others, girls do not have the support to pursue their own dreams. Next slide, please.
Samia, can you move like a bit forward to the mic? We can hear you well. Sorry.
Oh, now you can hear me?
The voice is a bit low. Sorry.
Now can you hear me? Addressing these three major roots of the problem, we came up with an action plan that can be implemented within a year. Next slide, please. Let us introduce the project Shachalata. Shachalata means solvency. The big idea of this project is to empower female students with the decision-making, financial independence, and academic opportunities to build future career. It aims to provide part-time jobs and academic opportunities for the female college and university students through interactive mobile application and website. It addresses the SDG 1, 4, and 5, which are the poverty, education, and the gender disparity respectively. Next slide, please. You can hear me right now.
Yes, we can.
We propose the name of the mobile app to be Shabola, which refers to strong women. It has the key features like part-time jobs, freelancing job advertisement of the registered employers, part-time career counseling, promotion of the academic opportunities, job filter options like location, time, salary, mental health counseling, complaint box for the job seekers and recruiters. Has to be implemented by in collaboration of the government Ministry of Posts, telecommunications and information technology, non-profit and private sectors and NGOs. Next slide, please. Next comes the timeline. The first 3 months is the product service development, and the next 3 months we focus on signing the contract with the investors. Then the following months will be for the capital raising and app development. The estimated time for app launching is 10 months. From here, we will be focusing on operation and promotion. Next slide, please. Here is the cash flow of the project. There are two phases that are pre-launch phase and operational phase. In pre-launch phase, cash inflow comes from the capital raising and outflow from the promotion, app development, security, and in operational phase, inflow comes from private sector, partnership, app registration by employers, advertisement, donation, and outflow from the app maintenance, employee salary, promotion, website, and management. Next slide, please. So how Shabola gives solution to the problem? It will give the college and university students to have financial solvency through which they can bear their own expenses to pursue higher education. Hence, this will solve the problem of gender discrimination from the family. And since they won't be dependent on others, this will empower them to make decisions of their life. Ultimately, this would give women a chance to survive in this competitive world and have power to build their dream. Now, I'll pass on Hannah to conclude.
Okay, thank you so much, Samia. To conclude this presentation, the matter of gender equality in higher education is as relevant and important in both countries, in that it concerns other important problems, and yet it is often overlooked. Through the research, we came to understand the situation of both countries, the similar roots of the same problem, such as gender stereotypes, and also the differences of seriousness or culture, to come up with 2 action plans which exchanged our knowledge and worked really hard. We hope this presentation gave you some ideas of the situation and solution, and hopefully motivation and awareness to act on it as well. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, so that was our presentation, and since no one is asking any question for us too, we will now move on to the third group, Group D, to present about 3-sided report card. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So can we start now?
Whenever you want.
Okay. So hello everyone. We are Group D, and we're gonna start about our presentation, 3-sided report card with changing school assessment to cultivate sustainable development. Could you go next? So here is our content of today's presentations. First is we just show our research questions and introductions. After that, we're gonna explain about student assessment and explain about current situation and problems and needs observed. Finally, we can explain about our action plan to approach to research questions and conclusions. Could you go next? So I'm gonna start from research questions. Our research question in our team research is how can we promote sustainable development through education in Bangladesh and Japan? And thesis statement, what we want to really focus on and emphasis on in our team research is that we believe that by changing the way students are assessed in educational systems, especially in secondary education, we will be able to cultivate human resources that can contribute to sustainable development. But that is what we really put emphasis on to approach research questions. Could you go next? So here is our introductions. And I think as you already know, sustainable development is blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. And the point we just want to focus is our research questions and also like our action plan are including social, economics, and environmental point that is 3 dimensions in sustainable development. And why it's important in today's world? It's because it's really important in today's world, but the reason why we chose the education is all sustainable development goals come down to education. So we can say like education can be foundation to approach and achieve all of the sustainable development goals. And even among educations, we decided to focus on student assessment. Could you go next? So here is the explanation about what is student assessment, and we thought there is a gap between education students are getting in schools and the people who can contribute to sustainable development. And we consider and analyze why there is a gap between two things. It's because we just catch up the idea. It's because of student assessment. Could you go next? So here is kind of like information and evidence of how current student assessment is not working well. And from the left, 91.2% of people who think the assessment is memorizing based in Japan. And even if I review the Bangladesh situations about the student assessment, 55% of teachers are thinking like they don't understand creative system well. And same percentage, 55% of teachers don't understand like creative education method that is introduced about even like 5 years back. So we can say like we just focus on education because it's kind of foundations for sustainable development. And also like we just focus on student assessment because there's a gap between the school assessment and peoples who can contribute to sustainable development. And next, we can explain about situation and reason from Yui.
Okay, thank you. So to start our research towards ameliorating the education scene, we first considered current situations and problems that we think should be looked into. We found several, such as the exams being too memorization oriented and there being fixed answers for everything. In other words, the education in both countries is passive and lacks teaching of creative and critical thinking skills. Could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Others were the current assessment system making students feel pressure to have perfect grades and affecting students' mental health, and the same system being the way it is because the university entrance exam system. And this assessment system does not assess students' unique abilities. Also, the way English is assessed is not effective for cultivating practical skills of the language. Among these, we decided to focus on the grading system and how students are evaluated. Could you go to the next? Thank you. We also considered the reasons for why the assessment system remains the way it is, and the main reasons we came up with were exams in secondary education and university entrance exams have fixed answers for everything because it is easier and more accurate to evaluate. And next one is because educational backgrounds and social status are heavily linked, and these things are too heavily emphasized. This makes people prioritize the academic aspect of life too much, which ends up affecting their mental health and disregarding other things in life that should make them happy. And also, it's difficult for schools to provide opportunities because budgets are limited and teachers are overworked as it is. Hence, it's difficult to increase the teacher's workload and take more out of the budget. And lastly, in English education, there are a lack of teachers who are native speakers, and the evaluation criteria is too heavily textbook based. Could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Lack of opportunities for secondary school students to participate in creative thinking programs like AAEE and Switch Like This, or study abroads. For study abroads, economically underprivileged students are especially at a disadvantage. And lastly, environmental knowledge is just not prioritized enough as other knowledge fields. And among these, we decided to focus on prioritizing sustainability as an evaluation criteria and also cultivating creative thinking skills because we have data that suggests the impact on environmental education on students results in 90% increased skills, 86% positive changes, and 86% reported better environment-related behavior. And next, we will move on to the action plan, which will be presented by Mahabubur from Bangladesh.
Thank you. This is Mahabub. Before we go to the solution, though student assessment is one of the ways to achieve one of the targets of SDG 4, now it doesn't ensure the three aspects that are needed to get the sustainability, which are economic, environmental, and societal. And also the mobilization of resources to end poverty through the student assessment is possible if we ensure the three aspects regarding the issues and focusing on the targets 4.7 and 1.8, which are promoting sustainability through education and mobilizing the resources to combat poverty. For that, now we have come to an innovative solution by new student assessment method. We have named this method as a three-sided report card. It is a report card that will show results based on the impact on three aspects of sustainability, which are economic, environmental, and societal. The results of each subject will have three perspectives and aspects, not focusing on the grade numbers. As you can see the model on the slide, comments will be like those which is already shown on the slide, like possible, good, quite good, unserviceable, and so on. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now the question is why we made this type of report card. If we practice the no, please before slide. Yeah, if we practice the three-sided report card model in student assessment, it will bring and create a path to sustainability, ensuring the knowledge, skills, experience, management, and so on. For example, if a student studies math, there will be a three criteria. Based on that criteria, he or she will be assessed in how much he has impacted on those criteria by that subject. After ensuring this, we are on the path of sustainability. Next slide, please. And the action plans that about actors. To implement this method, we made the division of work and also division of topic. First division of work, like by whom and of what. If we look at the diagram from the top of the order, briefly it indicates NGO and MPO will give the idea, training, and facilitator or team to the teachers. Then the teachers will apply the idea of three-sided report of assessment on students. Here I have one point to clear that we choose NGO for developed country and MPO for developing country because of the funding and budget issue. Next slide, please. Yeah. Then let's come to the point of explanation of works. Before assessing the students on these three criteria, there will be two training programs for teachers. First is on the topic of connecting three aspects in assessment. especially for questions. And the second is on the assessing. This is for measuring the report that we suggested. The training will be for 5 or 6 teachers from one school, and for overworking teachers, as a solution, there is a substitute of training by sending facilitator or team to the school. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now the time. By 2 years, from 2020 to 22, this new model of assessment should be made more descriptive and sort it out more division of work. And later, by 25, it should be applied in limited area and check the improvement, and after that, using it in full form. And we estimated that by 2030, it's not possible to achieve the goals, but by 2040, the goals must be achieved by this model. And thank you. The conclusion will be by you. Action plan.
Could you go next slide? Actually, like before conclusion, I want to talk about the action plan budget. And we just calculate for 1 year in first phase, we need $6,212 to provide this service to 1,000 schools per year. And the way to get that budget, we are considering the donation as the main things, and especially crowdfunding. In addition, we are especially in developed country of NGOs. We just talk about like receive our ODA from government, and also like advertise companies to get CSR from private companies too. That is our budget. So we're gonna talk about conclusion from Yui.
Thank you. So our conclusion is that currently the assessment system is lacking, and in order to cultivate human resources that can effectively tackle sustainable development, we need to change the assessment system and prompt creative thinking in education. We suggest that with the help of NPOs and NGOs, we can reform the assessment system to make the future human resources think more critically within the next 2 decades. And that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Group D, for your very concrete presentation. And since we don't have any question, we will move on to our last group, which is Group C, talking about gender inequality and poverty in Japan and Bangladesh. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, hi everyone. So we would like to express our gratitude to all of the audience for coming for today's presentation. This is the last presentation from us, so please bear with us. So that being said, like this is Group C. We would like to present our final research on gender inequality and poverty in Japan and Bangladesh. Okay, so please refer to the next slide. So yeah, before moving on our core topic, we would like our audience to think about what these numbers represent.
Please go to the next slide.
Sorry, please go to the next slide. Sorry. Sorry. I'm so sorry. So before moving before moving on to our core topic, we would like all of the audience to think about what these numbers represent.
Okay, so I'll be explaining what these numbers represent. Could you go on to the next slide, please? Well, this number shows the negative effect of gender inequality in various fields in both Japan and Bangladesh. Considering this is next slide, please. Considering this as a background, we came up with a claim, which is sexist perception, gender stereotype towards women result in an increasing case of lack of opportunity for education, sexual violence, and the wage gap. Then we make a hypothesis that all of the result of the sexist perception and gender stereotype eventually lead women more prone to poverty. Having this in mind, we also decided on our research question. Please, yes, thank you. And research question, which is, how is gender inequality related to poverty in Japan and Bangladesh? Please go to next slide. So, to find the answer to this, we focus on gender stereotype that exists in Japan. In Japan, there has been a tendency to see men as the primary source of the workforce and to see women as servants who dedicate themselves to take care of household. As you can see in the quote, it said there are tendency to consider men as workforce and women as housewife. And this gender stereotype is prominently shown in the workplace. According to the Japan Institute for Labor Policy and Training, the regular employment system in Japan does not take an account of women, especially the ones who are taking care of children, working at the same time. This definitely making women difficult to work as full-time workers. The statistics supports this. Among the female workers, the percentage of them working as non-regular employment is 56.1%. Meanwhile, the rate of male workers working as regular employment remains to 22.2%. So the question here is, why is it a problem and why is it making women more prone to poverty as it is shown in the slide? First, this is a problem since higher number of non-regular workers among women is evidence to show that women's working style are not valued or not considered in the society. Second, it is making women more prone to poverty because non-regular employment is unstable, low paid, and lacking welfare. So if anything unexpected happened, such as disasters, natural disaster, and accident, they would have a higher possibility falling into poverty. As it is seen, gender stereotype is indirectly related to poverty. Now I would like to pass the baton to Tamit, who will explain the situation regarding sexist perception and gender stereotype in Bangladesh.
Thank you, Tamoki. I will be explaining how women are more prone to poverty in Bangladesh. In the case of Bangladesh, we noticed that both the sexist perception and gender stereotypes are existing. When these two are combined, the problem becomes apparent in many cases such as sexual violence, harassment, child marriage, and gender inequality. The negative product of sexist perception and gender stereotypes undermines women's mental health as well as an opportunity for education. When this happens, it makes women difficult to work. It takes their opportunity to get a quality job and eventually lead them to be more prone to poverty. Next slide, please. The graph shows the ratio of male and female students who have enrolled primary education recently. This graph clearly illustrates the fact that the number of female students is more than the number of male students. This scene is really satisfying, but in the next slide, please. Look at this slide and you can see that when it comes to the tertiary enrollment, the ratio of female student decreases at a large number. This graph shows in university level, if there are 100 male students, then the female students are 70. This graph clearly telling us that something is wrong. Next part, please. And now we will talk about the reasons, like when we are trying to find out what's the problem with the number of female students, we found some shocking survey results. In Bangladesh, 76% of female students in higher education institutions reports having faced sexual harassment on post-secondary campuses, according to UN Women Research. According to BSAF, between January and March this year, 164 children were raped or gang raped across Bangladesh, while 87 were sexually harassed. Of them, 15 were educational institutions, while 4 were sexually harassed. Early marriage is one of the most embarrassing problem in Bangladesh. 59% of girls in Bangladesh are married before their 18th birthday. and you can and 22% are married before the age of 15. According to UNICEF, Bangladesh has the fourth highest prevalence rate of child marriage in the world and the second highest number of absolute child brides. Finally, when it comes to stereotype, many people still believe that primary education is enough for girls. Many of the inequalities are results of traditional gender norms centered on patrilineal and patriarchal kinship system in rural areas. Next slide, please. This graph illustrates the number of female employees. This graph clearly shows the inequality because you can see only 32% or 28.5% female are working in job sector, while you the most in population graph you can see the ratio is almost same. Male and females ratio is almost same, but you can see a huge difference in female in workplace. And the reason of this problem, next slide please. uh, we find out some problems for this, and this is sexual harassment. As we have already witnessed the sexual harassment in educational institutes, now we can imagine the situation of workplace. The Global Justice Organization survey of 200 garments factory workers, including 181 women in Bangladesh capital Dhaka, found that 80% said they had experienced or witnessed sexual harassment and abuse at work. 10% of women surveyed said they were currently being subjected to sexual harassment, molestation, and assault in the workplace. And second problem is wage gap. In Bangladesh, for the same work, gender pay gap was 57% in 2017 and 54% in 2016, according to a study. By and large, women earn about half as much as men in Bangladesh. This gender gap is only exacerbated in the informal market, where, for example, a male construction worker can make 1.5 times more than his female counterpart. And now, when we are talking about opportunity, even after being skilled, women of Bangladesh don't get enough opportunities for job. For stereotype like she has to maintain housewife, or women shouldn't go out for work, they should not be treated as women. These are the main problem. And next slide please. And now here we are talking about some negative impact of discriminations against women. The number, this number actually we can see that more than the the number of dropout of female students are rising in every year, and almost 70% female who have faced the sexual harassment in their life now facing mental health issues. And 90% female workers, they told that they claimed that their job is impacting on their health. It's a negative impacting on their health, and they are not either allowed for work because of sexual harassment, as they can't report against those male molesters, so their family aren't allowing them either. And this number actually the impact, when it comes to explain that this number shows that half of our community are not feeling secure. They are not even getting enough opportunity for completing their education. They are not safe in their workplace. They are not getting enough opportunities for job. Of course, if the safety of women in the education sector is not guaranteed, it will keep women away from getting education. If they do not have an opportunity for education, their chance to get a quality job that pay enough money to live will be limited, since education plays a significant role in what kind of job they can get. At the end, these make women more prone to poverty. Similar concept can be applied in the job sector. And thank you for that. That's it. Thanks, Rama.
Okay, so please go on to the next topic. Okay, so as a solution, we would like to form a community composed by university students called Together We Stand. So our aim is to create a society with gender equality, especially in the workplace and education. So, as we saw in our presentation, every form of obstacles regarding women, such as sexual harassment, wage gap, and lack of opportunity for girls' education prevent the achievement of gender equality. So gender equality is a part of SDGs, which is the world goal. That is why increasing number of people have started to be aware of gender issues recently. However, we still have a lot of rooms to improve. This is because there is not even a single nation with complete gender equality. So we, by promoting Together We Stand, strongly believe that we, the younger generation like us, have a power to change our society, even the world. So we address various kinds of sectors, such as the field of media in the long term. This is because media could be a person's main source of information, ideas, and thoughts. We demand more safer TV programs, which is free from any kinds of stereotypes or slurs. In the short term, we demand all the companies to have compliance sector, which seriously considers the safety of employees. Specialized agencies like compliance sector are necessary to deal with our issues, to make female workers to voice up the real reality. So we want more people to be aware of this presence of females who are oppressed, segregated, and struggling. We want people to have an open heart, open-minded, to pay attention to the people who are degraded due to highly competitive structural society. Since all the problems addressed in our presentations are rooted back to gender stereotypes and sexist perceptions, so we should deal with gender issues and promote a safer workplace and educational environment could be a way to eradicate female poverty. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Group C, for your presentation. We actually have a question in the YouTube comment section. So he wants to ask, there is a lot of issues behind poverty, and how do you guys believe gender inequality is a great factor of poverty in Bangladesh and Japan? Because he doesn't agree that the gender inequality is a great factor. So why do you guys believe that gender inequality is the big factor behind poverty?
Okay, I think in regards to that, yeah,
Okay.
Tamit can answer to that
Okay.
question.
Thank you, Tamoki. Actually, we have enough evidence that half of our community are not getting enough opportunities. They are not safe in their education. They are not getting enough opportunities to complete their education. So we can claim that actually that when the half of our community are not getting enough chance, and we have enough evidence uh, support our arguments, so we can obviously claim that if this half of our community, when it comes to ratio, is almost 1-on-1 in the population of Bangladesh, so we can claim that when half of our community are not well treated, so we can't overcome poverty, as they are not getting enough opportunities for job, and they are not getting enough opportunities to develop their skills. So we can claim it, and we have enough data to to prove we have enough evidence to prove our argument.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. Tomoki and Ama, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I would like to explain how gender inequality is actually affecting people, especially women, more prone for poverty. I guess the presentation slide we address that issues in the presentation slide. Can you go back to? Can you go back more to situation in Japan? the next one. Yeah, this one. Oh no, I mean this one. So we believe that poverty, gender inequality in Japan is one of the great factor of people of poverty, because we believe there are more number of women who is in the non-regular employment system, and this shows that they are more prone to poverty because they are less likely to get social welfare, and their job is unstable, and their job is also low paid. So we can conclude that since the number of non-regular employment of female is high, they are more prone to poverty. And this is also shown in the case of the poverty of single mothers. But since we haven't touched about single mothers, I will not explain in detail, but there are 50% of single mothers are positioned under the poverty. This is because their working condition does not consider female who's taking care of children. So from this number, we can also say that gender stereotype, which says that man should work and women should serve, is greatly affecting to poverty rate in Japan.
Okay, thank you. Well explained. Okay. I think the time is kind of limited, but Amma, do you have anything to add also?
Sorry, only just one thing to add. So we believe that we wish companies should be the one to prepare the more flexible lifestyle for the women. Like for example, 5 hours of work, or limiting the time, or maybe special support for the women under having under 5 years old children. We strongly demand companies to have that kind of system, like caring for the females and also mothers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. So that was our 4 of our outcome presentation. Everyone did a great job, I think. We gave everything that we learned and researched about during the program. So I hope that this was meaningful to us and everybody else too. So, okay, so this is the end of today's event. So to everybody, thank you so much for staying with us and thinking about important issues together. We hope that these final events meant something to the society or to you. And our program is now ending, but if our team hold on to the friendship and partnership we'll build together, we may meet again next year. So again, thank you all so much. Everybody say goodbye. We're ending the event.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Sayonara.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sayonara.
I think